Hey fellow YouTubers, welcome back to Land of the Wombats. It's your bad old Uncle Chris here again, here to share some off-grid pirate lifestyle stories. Today we are harvesting some of these potatoes. Now I don't think that they're ready to harvest, but the problem is, just behind me you can see we've got this massive enclosure and it's about 600 square meters, or about 6,500 square feet. And the fencing is about 4 foot high. Now deer can jump over that, so we're going to have to extend the fencing quite a bit. And we're going to do that by putting little star pickets on the each of the posts, and then run a really bright yellow wire. It's a stainless steel wire covered in yellow plastic, so should look interesting. Hopefully the deer can see it, but we'll find out. And hopefully they don't get tangled up in it, because that would be unpleasant. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to deal with the deer later in my own time. And yeah, we're getting back to potatoes. Now, the reason I'm harvesting them today is because I was looking here this morning, and one of the potatoes here, it's got a bit of green on it. So I'll bring it in a bit closer so you can see. So this is what happens. The deer scratch away the soil, and they expose the tuber to the sun. Now this green, that's toxic. You don't want to eat that. That'll probably poison you. So yeah, that's a bit of a waste, that one. But that's life, isn't it? If you don't deal with the deer, you got problems with your harvest. So we'll harvest this. This variety is Kennybeck, and behind me is King Edward. And then just further down is a row of potatoes that have been growing for years and years, in a different spot, mind you. So they've been rotated into fresh land, and they are of uncertain parentage. So I have no idea. There's reds and blues and purple potatoes. It's crazy, but all good varieties. Should grow a lot of different varieties, because some will do well some years, others they won't. Now over here we had Nadine potatoes, and those have been replaced by globe artichokes, because you've got to practice crop rotation. And the globe artichokes, 4 of the 5 that are planted in there are doing really, really well, and super hardy. It's been a hot, not a dry summer, but a hot summer. And although today it's 14 degrees Celsius, which is about 58 Fahrenheit, so it's cold today, but tomorrow we'll get right up there again. It's going to sort of double that temperature. So those are doing really well. I would certainly recommend planting globe artichokes, because the choke that they produce is really, really, really very tasty. But you have to grow them in very fertile soil, and they require a lot of water. You wouldn't think it for a thistle, but they actually do. Anyway, better get on and start digging out some of these potatoes. We have now harvested all the potatoes. We did 3 rows today, and there was another row done up there a couple of weeks ago. The results are in. It looks like King Edward, the King Edward variety of potatoes, is actually the best for this area. I mean, who knew? And that's why you got to run a couple of different varieties, because, well, you find out. So here is, and you can see this one, that's almost full. That's the King Edward. This one is the Kennybeck, and they're much larger potatoes overall, but the yields are lower, so it's just how it goes. And this is the uncertain parentage ones. Now these have been growing in this property for years and years. I forget actually how long they've been growing for, but you know, they're not bad. Some of them are like, I think these ones, you call them the kid flub variety. And they're quite interesting, quite nice tasting too. And you got some of the larger red ones. I mean, look at that. Look at the colour of that. That's amazing. So anyway, in terms of economic viability, well, I managed to break the fork while we were digging them out. So who knew that could break? It's a stainless steel fork, and it's got like a little, looks like it's got a little steel section in the middle to keep it rigid, but that's the bit that snapped. Anyway, don't buy a stainless steel fork. That's my advice. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm pretty happy anyway with the results, and we're going to save the best of these for next year, and we will get them in the ground, but in a different location. So it'll be very interesting to see how they go. I expect they'll do quite well. So this week we also poured the last cement step on this staircase, and it connects the courtyard behind the house through to the sunny orchard. And the slope here, it's not too bad actually, but whenever you cut into the side of the hill to create flat land, you eventually end up with a steeper section, and that's what this is. Now, we planted it up with cottage garden plants in order to bind the soil together, so that you know, if you get a supercell, which has happened, or a minor tornado, again happened, and it can dump like 100 mils of rain or 4 inches of rain in an hour, and you know, if the soil isn't held together, it washes away. But you also need, you can't have a garden bed so dense that you can't get into it. So we at intervals break up these steeper garden beds with stairs, and it just works. It's a system that works, gives you access to down below, saves you having to walk all the way around to the low gradient ramps. So it's super easy, and I thoroughly recommend them. They're pretty cheap to make actually. And the other day, Sandra purchased a box of plums at one of the fresh food markets in Melbourne, which are pretty good. That's good they still got them. And we've cut up the fruit and preserved them in a bottling method. And it's a great use of solar power. This is electric powered. This stuff's all second hand. And believe it or not, the glass in these particular number 27 Fowler's bottles hasn't been produced since the 1970s. So these things are almost 50 years old, and they're still good. Best thing to do with them, use stainless steel lids, because the tin lids actually corrode over time because the fruit's actually quite acidic. And the rings, you can still buy the rings today. We found one of the bottles actually failed, and we believe it's because the clip is a bit dodgy, and this clip actually holds it down. You can tell it's failed because some of the liquids actually sort of left the bottle, so that's pretty much a sign that it's failed. And we'll eat this stuff straight away. It'll be eaten over the next week, so it's a no-brainer. Just don't let it preserve, because it'll turn into a big, mouldy, filthy mess, and you won't want to eat that. It's a really, really busy time of year. Also, these are some of the berries that we're harvesting from the garden at the moment. We're getting our first ripe grapes, and these are a red dessert variety, and they're also you can also turn them into wine. But all of our grapevines are either dessert or wine varieties, and they're really good. We've got blackberries and raspberries in there, so they're fantastic. And because we're not busy enough, we've also been dehydrating tomatoes. So this is some of the tomato harvest. So we dehydrate them, take them right down till they're almost like a crispy chip, and then bang them in olive oil, and they'll store for ages, absolutely ages. And we'll get a plastic implement and push them down so that they stay in the oil, and the tomatoes don't go off. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you lot next week.